Welcome, gentle listener, I am Baldermort, your faithful servant, and I wish to introduce you to the forces, factions, and formations of the Warhammer 40k universe, the grim darkness of the far future, where there is no time for peace, there is only time for war. And today, we have another wee biscuit or cookie of lore, for we are to discuss one of the successor chapters of the Blood Angels, the Charnel Guard. Now, before we go into the details, a brief word from the sponsor of this video. Now, this sponsor has helped the channel in dark times when we almost had to close, so be kind if you can, for they saw us through. Raid Shadow Legends, where you too can be a legend. The mobile game that looks and feels like a console. All new players, just enter promo code MyDelinia to get your hands on everything. Simple. Get 50 XP brews to instantly get your legendary hero, Delania, to max level 50, as well as a Charnel silver, literally. Her first skill, Heart Stealer, is an AoE damage ability, and this skill has also a 50% chance to inflict leech debuff on enemies. Her second ability, Withering Scorn, is a single targeted damage skill that has a 75% chance to inflict a decreased resistance debuff. Her third skill, Know Your Place, is also an AoE damage ability that has a 75% chance to inflict a block buff debuff. Raid's currently running a special Deliana chase event, where you can get your hands on the amazing Deliana. And all you have to do is log in and play Raid for 7 days between now and July the 20th, and you'll get Deliana totally free. Delania can be unlocked by all players, and Raid has some amazing new features. They have a new event for the summer solstice. It's called the Path of Light. On top of that, there's some awesome new champions coming out, and a set of skins for the amazing Trunder Guilt Mallet. They look amazing. This is the best time to get started in Raid, and if you click my links in the description or scan my QR code, the techno thingy on the screen, you'll get unique bonuses worth $30, totally free. We're talking a free champion, Rector Wrath, 200,000 silver, 1 energy refill and 1 XP boost and 1 ancient shard, so you can summon awesome champions as soon as you get in game. So don't wait about, hit the links in the description and begin your quest today. That over? And so, as usual, for the very basics, let us lean on existing wisdom. To quote the Charnel Guard. The Charnel Guard, our loyalist Space Marine chapter, had a successor of the Blood Angels, suspected to have been raised during the Third Founding. This reclusive, fleet-based chapter's chronicle threads through many dark passages of the Imperium's history. The Charnel Guard are known to seal themselves in vast stasis crypts when not on campaign, and the chapter's armory holds countless examples of weapons rarely seen in the 41st millennium. Evidence for this lies in the number of ancient war relics the Charnel Guard is known to possess, such as a Fell-Blade super heavy tank, and at least 2 other super heavy tanks of similar provenance. In particular, this chapter makes use of a sizable fleet of Fire Raptor gunships, a specialized variant of the Storm Eagle. This chapter is most notable for having been a member of the Maelstrom Warders, an alliance of Space Marine chapters dedicated to the defense of the volatile and dangerous region of the Ultima Segmentum of the galaxy, known as the Maelstrom Zone, from the Chaos Renegades of the nearby Warped Rift of the same name. The Charnel Guard are also part of an alliance of Blood Angel successors, known as the Triarchy, that includes the 2 successors of the Blood Eagles chapter, the Angels Numinous and the Red Seraphs. The Triarchy dedicated itself to battling the foes of the Emperor wherever they could be found in the Imperium Nihilus, after the birth of the Great Rift cut the Imperium in half during the era Indomitus. Chapter History. At some point in their history, the Charnel Guard formed an alliance with 2 other Blood Angel successors, the Angels Numinous and the Red Seraphs, to form what is called the Triarchy. Both of those chapters were themselves the direct successors of the Blood Eagles, a Blood Angel successor chapter that had torn itself in half during an unknown conflict. The 2 surviving halves of the Blood Eagles then formed their own chapters, which became the Angels Numinous and the Red Seraphs. Though now allied through the Triarchy, the Angels Numinous and Red Ceres chapters were noted to agree on nothing. The chapters of the Triarchy used the ritualistic phrase, "We are three, drawn from two, born of one," to define their traditional relationship and kinship to one another. It was a tradition of representatives of those three chapters to meet at the abandoned homeworld of the Blood Eagles to determine a course of action that would involve the entire Triarchy. The ritual words were always spoken by the Triarchy representatives before any conclave could begin. At one such conclave, held after the birth of the Great Rift during the era Indomitus, Enoch of the Red Ceres, Jagudir of the Angels Numinous, and Mordath of the Charnel Guard gathered to discuss how the Triarchy would deal with their growing isolation in the Imperium Nihilus. As the chapters were unable to cross the Great Rift and were coming under increasing threat from Xenos and the forces of Chaos, they decided to reject their traditions, and rather than defend their shrinking domains, they would seek out the foes of the Emperor in the Dark Imperium and fight aggressively, even if it meant the deaths of their chapters. And they promised that if they could find Reboot Gilliman's Indomitus Crusade, they would join it. Notable campaigns: the Pentarchy of Blood, year 860 to 940, millennium 33. During the War of the False Primarch, a dark and bloody episode of the Imperium's history, now largely lost to myth and purged from the record, which plunged the Segmentum Pacificus into anarchy. The Pentarchy of Blood was convened by the High Lords of Terror to enact their judgment. 5 chapters, the Charnel Guard, the Carcharodons, the Death Eagles, the Flesh Eaters, and the Red Talons, were used to systematically destroy 11 chapters of the Adeptus Astartes, judged Traitora Perdita, and lay waste to their homeworlds, finally drawing the 8-decade-long conflict to a close. The Great Malagantine Purge, year 770 to 791, millennium 38. The Great Malagantine Purge was an imperial military operation carried out by 5 Space Marine chapters, collectively termed the Maes Irae, the Hands of Wrath in High Gothic, who unleashed the Emperor of Mankind's wrath upon the heretical Malagant sector in the Segmentum Tempestus. The details of this operation have been kept secret from the Imperium Adepta, including the Inquisition, with the records of the campaign sealed within the Celano Vaults on Terra. What is recorded in fragmentary Imperial records is that the Manus Irae were charged by the High Lords of Terra of that era to spare none and set a bloody, fearful example to the realm of mankind. The death toll unleashed by the Manus Irae during the course of the 21-year-long campaign is believed to have been enormous, and to have reached hundreds of billions of lives. Whole worlds were put to the sword by the Astartes, or wiped clean of all life by exterminatus orders that unleashed a hideous, flesh-dissolving virus upon their inhabitants. The black fragments of Cardinal Bloch the Reviled, one of the few remaining heretical sources which contain information concerning the Purge of Malagant, explains that the Manus Irae consisted of 5 chapters, but listed only 3 by name, including the Firehawks, Silver Skulls, and the Charnel Guard. The Angevine Crusade, year 322 to 384, millennium 39. Praetor Golgina Angevine, a powerful noble from the Terran court, was raised to the rank of Lord Militant and granted a writ from the High Lords of Terra to persecute the Angevine Crusade to liberate and dominate the area of space designated as the Calyx Expanse. His crusade forces were drawn principally for the Segmentum Solar, and numbered over 17 million levied troops divided into 4 battle groups and a strategic reserve reinforced by Titans drawn from the Legio Venator and Legio Magna, as well as a significant naval deployment from the battle fleet Solar and Obscurus. A score of rogue trader and explorator fleets ranged ahead of the main forces, identifying targets and providing active reconnaissance in this dangerous region of space. Swelling the Imperial forces' already vast ranks were tens of thousands of pauper warriors of the Frateris militia whipped up into frenzy of holy zeal, by the ecclesiarchy and innumerable petty hangers-on, opportunists and logistical transports, with supply trains leading back whole sectors away from the front. With their final victory achieved in year 384, millennium 39, the Angevine Crusade officially ended, giving rise to the birth of the Imperium's Calixis sector. The death of the Witching Moon, year 13, millennium 41. The Forge Moon of Kezia, in the strategically vital Agathon system, fell into an unnatural eclipse, during which its population was driven to murder and madness in an endless night of horror. The dread forces of the Tenebrae and Company of Misery reigned as dark kings amid the nightmare, and the baleful light of the witching moon that Zakaiya had become spread calamity and warp-tainted phenomena wherever it now fell, threatening the entire star system. The first Imperial attacks by the Astra Militarum, squadrons from Battlefield Ultima, and the Inquisition were hurled back in tatters by the madness of the Black Light and the warp-fueled savagery of the Defenders. It was only by the unexpected arrival of the Charnel Guard chapter, accompanied by a sacred band of Adepta Sororitas from the Order of the Black Sepulchre, bearing the holy relic known as the Book of Tears before them, that the imminent loss of tens of billions of lives on Agathon Prime was prevented, and the insanity-inducing radiation of the Witching Moon was held back. The Charnel Guard led a fresh assault as further Adeptus Astartes, including the Iron Hands, Stormlords, and Angels Porphyr and Adeptus Mechanicus reinforcements arrived, fighting a brutal battle of tank and gunship clashes across the soaring metal canyons which raised the moon's surface, and chamber by chamber zoned mortalis actions to purge Zakaiya of the shadow that had befallen it. When the Charnel Guard launched their orbital assault on Zakaiya's moon, each of their Storm Eagle's attack waves was accompanied by a rare Fire Raptor gunship to provide additional fire support, the largest deployments of these vehicles observed in at least the last 3 millennia. Of note, several different variations of this formation have been observed by the Charnel Guard. The Chaos Astartes inflicted fearful losses on their besiegers before they were driven into the deep darkness of the warp. In the wake of their retreat, all life was purged from Zakaiya before it was given back to the hands of the machine cult for tech exorcism and eventual reclamation. Maelstrom Warders, year 587, millennium 41. In direct response to the numerous dire predations from the Maelstrom, an Edict Imperialis was pronounced by the High Lords of Terror, and the order was given to permanently base several Space Marine chapters in the Maelstrom Zone, in order to protect the Imperium's interests and pacify the region. The Astral Claws chapter, in recognition of their past glorious service to the Imperium, was given the high honor of commanding the newly formed Maelstrom Warders Task Force. This force also included the fleet-based Charnel Guard and Lamenters chapters, who were specifically charged to patrol the Maelstrom's outer regions, and was also to incorporate the Mantis warriors who were already based in the nearby Endymion cluster within its command. The Scourge Campaign, year 640 to 651, millennium 41. The Scourge Campaign was one of the largest Imperial operations conducted in the Maelstrom Zone, in which the Maelstrom Warders carried out a series of major combat operations, striking deep into the heart of the Maelstrom itself and taking the battle to the renegade servants of Chaos, the first Imperial force in centuries to do so. Despite the Space Marines' numerous successes, their efforts were suddenly curtailed, and the Charnel Guard chapter was abruptly withdrawn from the Maelstrom Zone entirely. By direct intervention of the Adeptus Terra, the chapter's ties to the Warders were severed, and they were dispatched onto the Thanatos Crusade into the Veiled region at the edge of the Segmentum Tempestus. Sidebar. Further details will be contained in a future entry for the War for Badab. Sidebar over. The devastation of Baal. The Charnel Guard were amongst the forces deployed by the Blood Angels to defend their parent chapter's homeworld of Baal from an assault by the Tyranid High Fleet Leviathan. Chapter Geneseed. A mutation in the Charnel Guard's Geneseed leads its Astartes to often develop unusually elongated eye teeth. They also seem to develop the appearance of a partially dead or decaying body, including grey skin, breath and skin that smells of rotting flesh, and eyes that are completely white, showing no visible pupils. Chapter Colours. The Charnel Guard's chapter colours are known to be primarily black and maroon. Their power armour is fashioned to mimic the polished black of volcanic glass. Chapter Badge. The Charnel Guard's chapter badge is a black stylized fleur-de-lis cross, adorned with lily petal flourishes at the arm ends, outlined in white. A maroon black-shaped lozenge is centered on the cross, with a fanged skull in its center. End quote. I have been Baldermort, your faithful servant. I hope you've enjoyed this brief introduction. Now, we do have a second channel, GK Natural History, so have a look in the links in the description to this video if you wish to try something new. Thank you for your precious time. And no matter what you do today, do try to make some time for fun. Toodaloo.